Bum 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 bum. Mrs. Stitches, you've come to see. This is my floss tube, year number 3. I like to stitch, I like to sing, especially when I'm traveling. Mrs. Stitches tells a story or two. My projects, they number more than a few. So grab a whip and a cup of joe. Sit back and enjoy the show. Hi. It's Mrs. Stitches or Sheila. Hi. This is episode number 43. We'll put that there like that on an angle. Today's date is September 23rd, 2023. There you go. I think I got that right. I looked over at the calendar first, so I think I got it right. I hope you like my new intro. Trying something different. Give me some feedback. We'll see if I keep it all year round or if I do little different versions. In the intro, you did see 2 past finishes. One, the very first one you saw was this one, which was Blackbird Designs. It's Dear Mother of Mine, but I changed it to Dearest Aunt of Mine and personalized the vase up here. And I've been meaning to give it to my aunt now for almost 2 years. So I do have a box and I will be sending this off soon because I really should send it to her. I wanted to give it to her in person and things just didn't work out that we were able to get to her place. And the other one was a little bit more recent past finish, but it was The Song After the Storm, I think it's called. This is by, I always get the name confused, 1897 Schoolhouse Samplers, I think. And was part of the Evertote, the Stitch North exclusive package type thing, although it is now available on Stitch North. And that's Roxy Panettone and Roxy Flosses, called for Roxy Flosses. So, and I also showed you some present whips and a present finish that I've just did this month. So I shall show you that first. It is fully finished. It is not fully finished well, but it is fully finished for the time being. And I did have it hanging on the wall. This is, and we're going to have some, we don't have too bad glare. This was my September planned finish. It is The Hound and the Hare by Modern Folk Embroidery. It was a fun stitch. It's a little repetitive when you're working on all of these sections here. Now the floss I used was a DMC. Don't think I have a sample here. Let me see. Oh, maybe I do. Oh, it's not labeled. Yeah, I'm sorry. I keep saying that, but if you really want to know, I'll let you know. I personalized this again and I put the words, "Let the Haney, the olive go chase." The original is "Let the hare, the hound go chase." Well, Haney is our little kitty cat and she's scared like a rabbit. And Olive is our dog who is a sight hound. And she sometimes will chase Haney if Haney plays. So that was very appropriate. So there you go. And I did put my initials, but I put the year 2020 because I couldn't figure out how to refigure that. Later on, my husband said, "Oh, you could have fit it, no problem," but I didn't do that. So that is my September finish. Let's see if I can get that way over there. I did. Whew, that was good. I had another September finish for Sampler September. I did a new start. Oops, let me just take this out of the plastic. This was a kit that I bought probably about over 2 years ago. It was turned out to be a really cool kit. I got this at it was somebody's it was at a store, but they were somebody had passed away and they were selling in consignment all their stuff. So there was this kit, and it's a Just Nan, as you can see, and it's called Diamond Bouquet, and it's just a little sampler of specialty stitches and specialty flosses. It came with the silks and also a Karen water lilies. So that was fun to actually try those out. So it just was a very small sampling. They had them all carded up like so. So that was fun. So I actually got quite a bit left over. We'll see what I do with that. And came with all the beads and the embellishments. So I got lots left over there too. And the fabric. And there was actually 2 pieces of fabric. I think the person was going to kit it up with a different fabric. I'm not sure because they weren't labeled which one I ended up using, whether it was the original or I think it was the original based on looking at the covers. But it was, as you can see, whoops, I didn't even know what count it was, so it's quite large. And I measured it assuming it was 28. I think it was probably a 32, but there you go. So this is called Diamond Bouquet, and it doesn't show up very well, but let me see. But it has lots of sparkly beads in it, and there's a ribbon, and there's all sorts of fancy stitches, and I think it's beautiful. So there we go, Diamond Bouquet by Just Nan. So that was a finish too. So one fully finished and one finished. Now let's get to my whips. I will tell you a bit about life. We had quite an adventure. So I got lots of stories to tell, but I'll tell them at the end just in case you're not interested. But there's some pretty good stories. You might want to stay for that. So I'm going to show you this last. I'll show you this last because it'll lead into stories because it's part of the stories. I got a hankering to work on my, this is my Chatelaine, and it is Herbularius. And so this is part of my year, I'm going to say year goal, but it's my Flosstube year goal. So by next September, I want to finish this other arch. So there's some stuff that I haven't done in the center. So I finished off this part of the arch. So I had some to do in this flower and the name and a little, all this stuff down here, which is cry neck. And I still have beading to do down here. So I'm not quite done, but it's a challenge. It's really weird. In the chart, it shows all the leaves red. I think that was a mistake. Because I looked up this plant and it has green leaves and it just makes more sense to me to be green. It's charted with green, but just the front picture looks red. Some of her symbols can get confused. It's very difficult to work with chart, but it does look beautiful. So I got a long ways to go on this. It is, in my mind, my lifetime project, but it's very nice. So this is Herbularius, and I did quite a bit. Like I said, I finished off all this. I backstitched it, and I finished off a little bit down here, and I did finish off my Krynic, and I did the name, and I started over there. So quite a bit, and I think I finished off part of the column here. So yay! It's fun, but you only can work on it so long because it's a little bit taxing. The other thing I worked on, and I worked on this while we were camping. That's part of my stories is the camping, but you got to wait till the end for that. So you just got to stick around. I finally finished off all the cross stitching on Witch's Wheel. So now all I have left is is the beading. Now one thing, this is the same thing with Herbularius. They always recommend with a mandala to put an arrow for which way is up. I did not do that with Witch's Wheel. I still could because all I did was I stitched a little arrow. Probably should because it gets really confusing to see which way is up. But so this is all the cross stitching done, and like I said, I've started on the beading because the beading actually is going to take me a lot of time. I've spent probably now about 5 days, about an hour each beading and gotten this far. So I'll just bring it a little closer. I'd already done this hat up here, and I did the pot there and the other hat. And now I'm working on the pot. So I'll go around doing the witches' hats and the pots, and then all I have is the eyeballs left. So it's, yeah, it takes a little bit of time to do the beading. And it's a bit challenging, but I'm getting better at beading. You know, it's a learning curve. So, yeah, it's, I do want to get this done. Ideally, if I can get done before October 1st, that'd be fine. If not, I want to be able to get it done on the first day, on October 1st, because I got plans. I got 13 starts in October. So I ideally would like to have October free for all that, because I want to work as much as I can. Another daily I got is, this is, oh, what's it called? Oh, I got it right here. Oh, we'll stop that. Being difficult. Okay. Oh, the name's not there right away. It's just a little bit off. That's funny. The name's not on that picture, that front cover, but this is what it's going to look like when it's done. It's by the Sewing Shop, and I think it's called Biopunk Girl number 2, something like that. I'm calling her, and I can give you the real name if you want. I'm calling her Kelly Green. And I last time showed this the wrong corner up. This is the right corner up. And so I'm working at a page finish. I actually want to do, I have a 5-year plan on this, so I got to get 20% done by next September. I believe I'm at about 3% right now. So I'm doing 100 plus pages a day on it, and enjoys it. It's a lovely stitch. I'm finding, I believe this is 25 count. I'm finding it, it's 1 strand, full cross over 1. This is my place that I like to stitch with full coverages. So definitely I'm liking the size of it. So yeah, that's Callie Girl, Callie Green. She's coming along nicely. Let's see. I got a couple of new starts, but before I show you this new start, I'm going to show you, again, I'm thinking about my year-long plans, and I decided to pull up, there's a couple that I have as finishes, and I thought I'd just make more progress on this. So this is A Year in Stitches by Peppermint Purple. It's Blackwork, and it was their 2020 stitch along, I believe. Sorry for the hoop marks. Oh, that's the back side. Oh, that was silly. I probably should move this needle minder out of the way. Let's scoot that needle minder right out of the way. Okay, sorry about that. Oh, you know, there's so much to remember. Okay, so here we go. That looks a little better. So I believe it's 52 weeks, so one would come out each week, and each week I think is like a third of this line. So I'm halfway, I think was right about here-ish, maybe there. So I'm over halfway, and I was going pretty good guns on this. It's fun. I like Blackwork. You can't do a ton of it, but it's nice because what you can do is you just kind of get a little bit of the pattern, and then you work totally off the pattern because you just see the repetitiveness. So some are a little less dense than others, but it is pretty cool. So enjoying that. I put in a little bit every night on it, so to make progress. I think I'll leave it as a finish for next year, just to have another finish, but we'll see. Okay, then I got 2 new starts. One new start here is by my friend. She has a Flosstube too, and she has a Etsy shop. It's KEB Studios, and I actually won this. I won to be able to pick any chart off of her site. So I chose this. It's Winter Cabin, and so you can, it's cool. It's so cool. So I'm going to just work on this gradually sort of over the winter time, and, you know, pick one evening and put in, I think I put in, it's around 2,500 stitches, and I put in 500 stitches. So my goal will be to finish it by the end of February-ish, or before the first day of spring for sure. But there you go. I had to change one color. She had both called for DMC and some Classic Colorworks and some weeks, and I didn't have them. So I picked a DMC for this trim here and the railing, and it's probably a bit more goldy than light brown. Looks slightly different. And I picked a different blue, dark blue, because the called for was blending in too much with my fabric. Sorry, that was loud. Tickle in my throat. This is leftover fabric from my Pirates Poltergeist. It is a silk weaver, I believe, and it's just a blue. I don't even know if it has a name. So that is fun. I do, like, I've kitted up a bunch of hers charts for, I'm going to be doing one a month. I got a bunch that are called a series in plaid, like they're seasons in plaids, and kitted those up, and I love the way she's written her charts. They're very easy to follow. It's a really nice stitch just to, you know, cruise along at. So, and I know in the series in plaid there are half stitches, so I have picked all 28 count for them. So I said this was, I don't think this has any half stitches, but still on a 28 count. And then my final new start is Modern Folk Embroidery Rule of Life. This will be what it looks like when it's done. And what made me grab this? So part of my plan is to work through all my kits. They're not necessarily kits. Some of them are just charts or patterns on Pattern Keeper, whatever. But just to work through some of my stash to kind of get it done. And so there was somebody who mentioned that another floss tuber, she was having a start along, I think her Camthestitcher. She was mentioning how you have a chart or something you kitted up and you really, really wanted to start it, and then it sat there. And so it's to start that one that you picked up and really, really wanted. So this one I bought at Stitch North in 2022, and I got the floss for it, and I bought some fabric that would be intended for it. It was more fabric than I needed, so it was also the one for Long Dog. Point of fit. So this is on 40 count. No, upside down. No, I was right side up. 40 count. Back in the Saddle by Roxy Floss Co. And this is the called for flosses. And I did a center start. And that's my progress so far. So I got two colors happening so far. Working my way over to this side, and then I'll probably work up. I'm going to rechart the saying. So what it originally said was, bestow your alms whenever you see an object in necessity. Has these funny F's that are old-fashioned S's. I'm going to rechart it to say something along the lines of, to get full value, you must use what one has purchased, or something like that. I have to still work it out. Essentially, my whole philosophy is I've bought these things to actually start stitching them and using them, because that's the whole point to it all. So there's no point in just buying things and having them sit. You get the pleasure of buying it, which is one of the main things. But to actually get full value, you should actually stitch them. So I have one more whip to show you, and I'll show you right now. I have the chart here. This is another daily one I'm working on, and it's Theresa Wentzler, Brilliant Plumage. And the story behind this is, before we went camping, so this is kind of mixing into story time, but I do have the whip to show, but it's the start of the story time. This is just to keep you around for a little longer, because I did make a lot of progress on this. Before we go camping, we have two birds, and we put them at a bird sitter. And when we were there before, I saw on the wall a Theresa Wentzler, the peacock tapestry. And it was all framed, and I went, wow. And it looked gorgeous being stitched and seeing it stitched. And so one of the times I just sort of said, would you happen to have the chart? And she said, well, I'll look and see if I have it. Well, when we went to drop off the birds, not only did she give me the chart, so this is partly haul, she gave me 4 others? 4 others. So I picked up, or was gifted, Stitchy Kindness, this one, Peacock Tapestry. It is gorgeous. Gorgeous in real life. These other ones. This one is called Fruit and Floral Wreaths. Kind of pretty. Fantasy Sampler. I like this one too. Pretty complex. And English Garden Sampler. I was looking at buying this one, so I was really pleased to pick that one up. That was exciting. And then this one, I might just do this as a quickie Christmas wreath. I might do it on a bigger count just to see. These are supposed to be some kind of specialty baubles. Might do something to make them stand out a bit more. So, and then just as we were leaving, she said, what do you stitch with? Like, what do you put your stitching in? And I said, oh, Q-snap or a hoop. She says, would you like scroll bars? So she gave me the scroll frame and the stand right here. It's Giselle, something like that. So I'm getting used to using this. So part of that is I thought, well, I'll stitch with it every day and that will get me more accustomed to it. So getting better at it. So I've been stitching every day, and this is my Brilliant Plumage. I still have my mistake over, oops, oh, sorry about that. I still have my mistake over here, and I'm still thinking of actually just charting a background and putting words in Brilliant Plumage coming down. I started trying to pick it out, and it's really hard to pick out, but I still could pick it out. So yeah, so that's, I got tons done. I got all of this done, and I'm starting to come down here. So my goal was to finish this page. My goal is to finish it completely, because if I finish it, then I get to start one of those others, and it'll be English Garden or Peacock Tapestry. I might put a vote out and see what you guys say. We'll see. But that was part of my haul and part of my story. Now we'll carry on a little bit further into the story, because it was quite an adventure. So we dropped the birds off. We picked up the trailer. The birds were in Halifax. The trailer was in Yarmouth. It was a bit of a long day. Picked up the trailer. It was a little U-Haul trailer, really cute. And we drove home, and it was raining heavily, and it was just like making lots of noise, kind of tugging on the car. It was not a pleasant drive, and it was just raining heavily, but we just get home. It's kind of tense the whole time. Get home, and we had to leave early the next morning. So we started packing up, getting things ready, and then we headed off the next morning with Olive, and we started driving. At one of the stops, or at one point, my husband readjusted the hitch, and it was much better. So they had not done the hitch, the adjustment tightly. So it was a little bit better. So we started heading off to Cape Breton. We were going to a hiking festival up in Cape Breton. Now, the way Cape Breton works, it is an island, but it's got a causeway. And there's one point where the highway can go kind of makes a big, huge loop, which is the Cabot Trail. And so we had to pick up our package and registration on one side of Cape Breton, Ingonish, but our camping was on the other side at Shetty Camp. I think it was about an hour-ish drive between the two. The package pickup wasn't till 6 p.m. At 3:30, we were at a road junction where do we go to the east to pick Ingonish, or do we go to the west to Shetty Camp, drop off the trail camper, and then drive over and then back, which might work timing wise. It's extra driving. So we were kind of flipping coins and trying to decide. In the end, we went towards Ingonish, and we get to Ingonish. We're there, I think, around 4:30, and they're not supposed to be open to 6. Some people arrived, and we're thinking, oh, yay, maybe they're going to open up early. In the end, they did open up early, which was great. We just walked around Ingonish a little bit, looking for some food. Didn't find any, except I had some gelato for dinner. And then the fella arrived. I think it was around probably about 5:15, 5:30. And so we got everything taken care of, and then we hit the road. Well, we weren't very far on the road before rains came again, and it was heavy rains. It's not a terrific road. It was really socked in, so you couldn't even see the view. And there were big climbs up these mountainsides, and then long drive down. And we're looking at the time where we're like, I wonder if the campground's going to be open, because we haven't checked into the campground yet. And so I'm looking on, trying to see on the email when they close, couldn't find anything. We arrive at the campground is a big, huge information booth thing. And we just decided to drive by it. And my husband says, well, the lights are on. It looks like somebody's in there. And he goes, yeah, I see 2 people in there. It was pouring, but we parked the vehicle and we go on in, and sure enough, they were open till 8. We arrived at 7:30. So that was great. So we were able to check in. Everything was great. If we'd gotten later, it would have been fine. We'd just find our campsite because we knew the number, but it was raining so hard. He just backed us into our spot. It's dark as can be. And he backed us in and then thought, well, we'll leave it hitched to the car in the morning. We'll sort it all out and get everything settled. So I just got into the camper and just soaking wet and just kind of huddled down, and the rain was pouring, and he kind of took care of our dog because she gets a little anxiety with loud sounds, and the sound of the rain would have been stressing her out. She came into the camper for a little bit, and then it kind of stopped and we were able to set up a bit. So next morning we're kind of readjusting the camper and trying to find a level spot and trying to set it all up, and there was a picnic table, and he's like, well, let's move the picnic table. He needed it moved closer to the power outlet because we had a hot plate to plug it in and didn't want too much extension cord. So we tried to lift it and we moved it a bit. Now I knew that I could feel it getting a bit, pushing my limits of my strength. But we did it. I was safe. Everything was fine. And then he said, let's go a little bit further. And he had a spot where he wanted to go to. And so we're lifting it. My arms are way out far and we're lifting it. And then all of a sudden, I just felt a pop right between my shoulder blades. Put the table down. And all I say is usually when something goes wrong with my back, I go, oh. And I didn't know what to do. My mind wasn't really functioning. It was just a weird feeling. I ended up leaning against the camper, and he's trying to help me. What can I do? What's wrong? What's wrong? And all of a sudden, I'm seeing just black come in at the sides of my eyes. And I said to him, I'm going to black out. And then all I remember is waking up on the ground. What he told me happened was I actually just blanked out. I remember trying to breathe. I remember as I was thinking I was blacking out, I went, trying to breathe, hoping to not black out. And he said what he saw was I didn't do that. He said my eyes were like I was just non-responsive. I was just blank in my eyes. And he even slapped me. I non-responsive. He yelled at me. I didn't respond. And then I kind of just went like a rag doll and just went down to the ground, which I know is what happens when I faint. It's actually a gentle fall. You just don't go, you actually go. And then he was just like shaking me and yelling at me. And I woke up to him saying, Sheila, are you okay? Sheila, are you okay? And then he told me to move my left foot. And so I moved both my feet. And then he goes, no, just move your left foot. I'm like, oh crap. Okay, which is my left? And then I got it. And I moved my left foot. And he said, move your right foot. Well, that one was easy. Then he said, move your left hand. I'm like, oh no, which is my left hand? And had to think really hard. So, and then at that point I said, I think I'm okay to get up. My back felt like when you wear a backpack and you get that ache or that kind of strain in the middle of your shoulder blades. That's what it felt like all the time. It wasn't like normal lower back pain where it hurts and I can barely move. It was more of just a kind of odd feeling, kind of just a pinpointing, very, very specific spot. So we we got breakfast and things were going okay. I sat and stitched. I did a little video showing you the camper, so I'm going to insert that here. This is us camping. This is our little U-Haul camper. I'm going to back up a bit so that you can see a bit better, but that's our tiny little U-Haul camper. And I'm going to just take a peek inside. We got this big huge mat here, and see if it adjusts when we go inside. Bit of a mess, sorry for the mess. It's a table and chair. We're just using that for storage right now because it's quite small. We're not using the sink. This is our little bed. And that's about it. It's not a lot in here. We'll head on back out. This is up at Chetty Camp. Those are Tentics in the distance, so those are buildings. We stayed in those one time. And then it's our little car. This is where I've been sitting cross-stitching. And this picnic table here is a bit of a story from this morning. So my husband and I were trying to move it. It used to be over here by the fire pit. I moved it over to here. It's very heavy, and all of a sudden something went pop in my back. I leaned up against the U-Haul trailer and I ended up passing out right there. The pain or the shock of it all overwhelmed me. He said I was unresponsive and he slapped me and I didn't respond at all, but I'm okay now, hopefully. We'll see how it is for cross-stitching. That's the washers right there, right next to us. And this is sort of the campground. There's a garbage pail right there next to us too, and there are other campers. And this is where we are staying. We'll see how much hiking I get done this week. We'll see how I recover from this. It was pretty bad, but I think I'm okay, hopefully. We'll see. I'll sit and stitch. Okay, bye. And we were supposed to go to a hike that morning. Obviously, we didn't. And then there was a hike in the afternoon. I was feeling pretty okay. I was going to go, our plan was that our dog wasn't allowed on the hikes because a group of people, and they don't want dogs with all the people, just a safety thing. So our plan all along was one person would hike, one person would stay with the dog. Well, as we were driving, it was kind of drizzly. Now, I took a little video here of the drive to just show you the Cabot Trail because it was clear and you could actually see parts of it. So I'll insert the video here. So yesterday we arrived in pouring rain and we did drive this. This is the Cabot Trail, which is one of the most scenic drives in Canada, I would say, or maybe even the world. And so it's up in Cape Breton, and it's just this nice loop in a national park all along the ocean. And we're going to be going up a pretty steep mountain. We're heading off to a walk right now. And so there you go. Rain is supposed to be happening a lot. This is our only good weather break. But you can see the road up ahead. I don't know if you can see. I'm going to just zoom in a bit because that is where we're going. And the dog's panting away, but there you can see up there. It's warm in here. And when we got to the campground, or to the meeting for the hiking, it was a very short hike. It was only 3K and very flat. A real easy hike. And so it was husband's hike to do, although originally it was mine, but at the last minute I decided I want to go. So we both went, and because it was cool out, we just left Olive in the car, which was fine. So we did the hike, and it was fine. It was okay. I did okay on it. And even afterwards, we did another little hike with Olive around a little boggy marsh, which was lovely too. So that was good. So I was doing okay. I felt a little bit of ache, but not too bad. That night, there was a fiddling music at a bar called the Dory Man, a pub. And so we went there with the group, the hiking group, and we ended up staying the longest. We really enjoyed it. We had fun. Here's a tiny clip of the fiddler music. Hopefully this won't, if copyright issues, I'll have to delete it, or turn the music off. But here is the fiddling music clip. we had a blast. And my back did not give me any pain while the fiddling music was going on. I just was having a fun time. Didn't dance, but was doing chair dancing, pounding the table, and just a really, really great time. Next day, I felt okay. I felt good. I got eaten alive by bugs. That happened on the first day, and oh, my foot actually swelled up. I had probably 20 bites on one ankle, 20 bites on the other ankle, and so from there on, I had to wear thick socks and shoes. My feet were hot. It was annoying, and I itched like you wouldn't believe. The next day, my husband went on the morning walk, which was a 10K walk called Salmon Pool Falls. I think that's what it's called, the salmon pools. And then I went on the afternoon one, which was 6K, and they said it was easy terrain. They didn't say flat, they said easy terrain. I took poles, which was probably a mistake because the actual action of the poles probably strained my back. It was to a falls. About halfway at the 3K, I was feeling my back, and the final 3K coming back, I was struggling. There was another hiker was very kind. She told me lots of stories and kept me distracted. And each kilometer, I was in my mind where our normal walk, we usually walk 4K every day, how much further it was to get home or back to the car. So, and then when I got to the car, I was just like, I got to sit down. So I recuperated. I just had to lay out flat on my back, and I was fine. Next day, all the hikes were on the other side, back to Ingonish, and there was weather coming. We knew about Hurricane Lee, which I think ended up being a tropical storm, but I'm not sure, was coming. And so we were watching all the weather reports, etc., and they were talking about that the hiking festival might be canceled. It was supposed to go to Saturday. Hurricane Lee was supposed to arrive Friday night, Saturday. We were thinking we might leave Friday, so this is Thursday now. And we decided not to go on their hikes because they were a drive. And instead, we just explored around Shetty Camp. And we had a wonderful time. We went to the bakery there and bought some calories. And then we went off to this Shetty Camp Island and did a little beautiful walk and saw, what is it? It's a gray seal. And here's a little video clip of that. It's pretty cool. We are right now in Shetty Camp, and we're at a lighthouse. We have a beautiful drive down here. There's a big, huge seal. Maybe walrus, but we think it's a seal, sitting out on a rock right over there. My husband was going to go tell the other people. I'm going to just zoom in a bit before I move because I don't want to scare him away, but you can see him there. It's massive. Now we'll walk a little bit closer. Pause. And just had a beautiful time. It was really, really lovely. We get back to the campground, and they had some merchandise for sale outside, like at the information thing. And I was like, oh, I want to get a jacket. So I went to try on a jacket. There were tons of people at the information, and I was kind of eavesdropping, and I heard a little bits and pieces about refunds. And heard some chatter, and it was about Lee and etc. And then I finally went up and asked, and it turns out that the campground was closing. All parks in Nova Scotia were closing Friday. So we could stay Thursday night and leave Friday like we planned. But if we left Thursday, we'd actually get a refund on Thursday. Even though we're past checkout time, we still get a refund on Thursday. So I went back, told my husband, and he said, yeah, why not? We were done for the day. It was around 2, so we finished having lunch and we hit the road, started heading home. It was about 8 hours drive home. We went through some weather. There was a storm in front of Hurricane Lee, some rain. That was torrential rain. We were in Truro area, I think actually Enfield, and we stopped to get gas. And it was fine when I went in to go to the washroom. Husband gassed up. He went into the washroom. He comes out. He's wondering, why is everyone standing in the Irving, the convenience part? Looks out. It is just torrential rain coming down. So he ended up getting out to the vehicle. We pulled out from the gas pumps and just sat and waited for it to calm down a bit. So we had to go through different spots of torrential rain, awful rain, where you can barely drive. And then we got closer to, then we kind of got through that system, and it was okay. We're doing fine. We're thinking we can maybe make the 11:30 ferry, which will get us home at midnight. And then we hit fog, and we're tight for time, but he has to drive. You can't even see. The fog was so thick. The lights were just reflecting it back. But he did a great job. And at one point we're driving along, and there's a deer running next to the car. He obviously slowed down and pulled over a bit, but luckily the deer darted off away from the road. We made the 11:30 with about 1 minute to spare. Now, sometimes they wait a little longer, so that's okay, but it was tight. So yeah, so we get home, and that was our camping experience. Now we had a day in advance of Lee, so he was able to, on Friday, return the camper, which was great because we didn't want it on our property for a hurricane. And yeah, the hurricane came Friday night. Again, I'm not sure if it was really a hurricane or a tropical storm. The winds picked up, not sure when, I think around midnight or so. And the rains started off with just rain, and then the winds, I'm not sure what the winds got to, over 100 km an hour, but we get that in the winter storms anyway, so it wasn't really, really bad. We lost power at about 5 a.m., but surprisingly, the power came back on at 4 p.m. And so I'm just sitting stitching the whole day. I just sat and stitched away. I can't remember what I was stitching on, but I just sat and stitched. And right around, I think around 2 or 1, all of a sudden you realize it's quiet. It was like the storm was on and suddenly it was off. Turns out the eye of the storm passed right over us. Yep, we were the eye of the storm. But the nice thing about the eye of the storm is it's actually quite calm in the eye of the storm. So we had, I think, around a 6-hour window of the eye. And then on the backside, around 8 p.m., 9 p.m., it started raining really heavily again. The winds didn't pick up to the next day, the next afternoon. And it was just the storm slowly moving across. But there was not much damage. I had corn plants, they got beaten up a bit. We had our dog's dish that we didn't put away. That kind of flew a little bit, but we found it. That's about it. A friend's tree actually did snap in half. They're just our neighbors, just a little ways over that away. So we're on kind of a hill, so you get different wind experiences. We do not feel one direction very much. We'll get 3 directions. And this storm, because it's a hurricane, you actually it starts off in one direction and it does a 360. You get all the directions. So obviously one of the directions was hard for their tree. But our little island and town got off pretty scot-free. There's another island, Briar Island, over that way. They had a bit more. I think they got hit a bit harder. I saw there was another tree a huge tree that completely uprooted. That was the big danger, was because we've had so much rain this summer, and then we had rain with that storm, that with the wind and the trees fully loaded with leaves, that the root ball, like they get tilted right over and the earth comes up, and it's quite something to see. I didn't take a picture of that. I probably should have, but anyways, maybe I'll get one off Facebook and insert it here. And then somebody, one of the fish companies over there, lost some siding on their big fish plant. So that's about it. Other places were out of power a lot longer, and lots of places maybe felt the storm a lot more. But that was our adventure of camping. My back, the bugs I barely talked about. And I'll show you a picture here of my ankles. This is not even when it was at its worst, but here's a picture of my ankles. And it was so itchy. Oh, I've never been so itchy. Finally, when we got to town, I was able to get some Benadryl, yeah, and calmed the reaction. So those were black fly bites, and I guess some people don't react at all and some people do. And usually I think it's your first exposure that you react. So that was me. So I reacted quite well. Yeah, anyways, I won't go into that too much. So that was, I think, the last 2 weeks. Coming up, tomorrow, my husband and I are going to go in another orienteering competition. So that's going to be fun. And then on Monday, if the weather holds out, because there seems to be a little bit of weather coming our way, if the weather holds out, we're going on a bus trip to Peggy's Cove. So there you go. And what else? I think that's about it. I'm in October. Like I said, I'm going to be doing 13 new starts. So that's almost every other day. We'll see how that goes. Yeah, I think that's about it. What am I at? 41 minutes. Woo, 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 woo. That went a little long. So I should let you go, let you get back to your stitching. And yeah, I shall talk to you in probably 2-ish weeks. We'll see. Or October 13th. We'll see, whichever comes first. Might throw one in and we'll see. Well, I'll see you when I see you. So take care, everybody, and I shall talk to you later. Bye. Happy stitching. Bye.